The time is upon us. I finally got 500 rounds through this pistol on this trigger, which not only puts it over the top for a gun review, but allowed me to get all of the experience I needed, that I felt I needed, for a review on the trigger. I was definitely right about this trigger. It's my aftermarket Glock trigger. And for those of you that are looking for an aftermarket Glock trigger, I'm always going to push you towards Overwatch. And once again, thank you to those who were relentless in recommending the Overwatch precision trigger. A couple reasons why it's good. 1, fit and finish. It's amazing. 2, veteran owned and operated. 3, they have this blue line trigger, which gives, you're gonna have to read the blurb. I can't link it in the description anymore, so I'm gonna have to put it on that Facebook page that I keep procrastinating with. So, first things first, it's a complete drop-in trigger unit. The trigger itself is metal. The dingus is also metal. And it gets clean out of the way when you start your trigger press, which is awesome. It doesn't stick out at all, doesn't cause any discomfort. Very smooth trigger. What's also good about this trigger is it is flatter. This is the FALX, or FALX, or fall, or faux, or however you say it. Oh, I hate the name. Such a dumb name. They could have, so many other good names. But anyways, this trigger completely changed Glocks for me and how this feels. So I've been looking for a long time for a trigger that has this sort of design, and on the website it looks super narrow like the stock trigger, which I was nervous about, but it's actually perfect. So 5 lumens, 5. Yes! So you see that the bow of the trigger is actually thicker, which is nice. It's rounded, very comfortable, very smooth, 0 burrs, excellent manufacturing. Just, this is the kind of machine work that I hope for and almost never get, and Overwatch delivered that. So it's a very, very nice interface with the trigger, very comfortable. You could shoot this all day. If your hand's raw from another gun, you can pick this up and it won't matter because it's just super nice. Moving on to the inside, what this beautiful trigger is connected to is an NP3 coated Gen 3 trigger bar. 5 lumens again. Bow. And it's kind of funny because NP3 coatings look very similar to the stock coatings. As you can see from the picture, if it didn't have this different trigger on it, you might get confused. Same thing with the connector, which we'll get to now. So I wanted to make sure this was as smooth as possible. So I got the minus connector, which is almost always out of stock, and it's $33. 33 doll hairs, which is violent. But together, they make this trigger so smooth, and it doesn't take a lot of weight out of the trigger. I left the stock spring in there, and it's breaking probably around 4.5 pounds. But the smoothness that it gives you, and just the excellent travel that it has throughout the entire pull, and the reset is just amazing. Plus, the geometry of this trigger makes the pull slightly shorter. So all these factors combined gives you what I look for in a trigger pull. It's very, very smooth, very well done, a lot of attention to detail, and it's very consistent. Glock triggers in general are seldom consistent. There'll be times where you're like, wow, that pull was awesome, and then you pull it again, you're like, what happened? And it's slight. It's only, 1/4 of a pound or so sometimes, but the fact that they took an inconsistent, uncomfortable trigger and made it into an excellent, very smooth, very well-made trigger that does everything it's supposed to do and promises to do, and maintains the internal safeties, that is huge to me. I can't tell you how hard it is to find an aftermarket Glock trigger that I like with the oversaturation that is the Glock trigger market. So I am very, very pleased with this. I recommend everybody go buy one. It is on the spendy side. In 2018, not on sale. This trigger, this is the blue line trigger. Comes in at about $130, and this connector comes in at $33. With shipping, that's about 170 bucks. So you're not gonna be super happy with the price tag, but I'll tell you that once you start pressing shots, you'll forget all about the amount of money you spent on it. And if you're buying Geisley stuff or anything like that already, then this is an easy sell because it's way cheaper than a Geisley trigger. I also highly recommend you go the route that I did. This trigger took not even 15 minutes to put in, and that was me cleaning stuff on the inside before putting it in there. So highly, highly, highly recommend this trigger. This has my highest recommendation for an aftermarket trigger in a Glock. And if I was opening a business, I would work with them to only stock these and provide them, because it gives me everything I look for, maintains the safety, and just is a transformative experience. Just very smooth. And one of the issues that I was having with this Glock prior to putting this trigger in is the trigger was breaking around 6.5, maybe even 7 pounds sometimes. That was after buying it used and putting about 800 rounds through it myself. And now I have another 500 through this trigger. And this trigger has stayed consistent since I've put it in there. It's very, very, very smooth. But anyways, back to what I was saying. What I do to train either new shooters or test myself will be put a spent casing on top of the front sight and do a press to make sure that I'm not yanking the trigger, and I remember the importance of a proper trigger squeeze. But I've very seldom been able to keep that piece of brass on there while pulling and applying proper fundamentals with the stock trigger. With this trigger, I can do it literally every time, which makes me a very happy panda. So out of a 13 scale, I give it a 13 out of 13. That's an inside joke, but definitely grade A trigger. Excellent, excellent, excellent upgrade to any Glock. I highly recommend this trigger specifically. They have 2 other triggers that they offer. They are flat faced, completely flat faced, and then flat faced with a little bit of a ledge there. I don't know anything about those triggers. This is specifically for this trigger here, but super happy. And I don't know if you can see the difference in my shooting, but I am a lot more confident with this pistol now. The reaction to contact drills I do, or just the drills in general, and just running the gun has become a completely different experience. And I don't say this lightly. A lot of you can tell a different tone from my regular videos because I'm that serious about how awesome this trigger is. So run out there, go get one. If you're looking at aftermarket triggers, definitely go this route. I'm not even gonna say try other stuff and see if you like it. This is where it's at. And it's not the lightest trigger. I mean, you can play with the springs after it. And honestly, if that's what you wanna do, you want a super lightweight trigger, buy this and then play with the springs. That's my recommendation, because this is that good. Thank you for watching. Take care of each other, stay safe, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
I liked it. You killing it. Nice holster. Nice gangster holster.